This is the best performing 1-year site in the history of Ørsted. We have never done it before, having such a high availability with such good winds in the area, with such a good safety record.
Especially right now, it feels good to have good news. And South Fork Wind can definitely be filed under good news. The project, the first utility-scale offshore wind project in the U.S., recently completed its first year of operation. And that is our topic for today. This is Plugging In. I'm Barry Wygel. Welcome to Plugging In, powering our way to a brighter and healthier New York. I'm your host, Barry Wygel. Each episode on this podcast, we will discuss a different topic related to clean energy, explaining complex topics in a way you can understand. Become part of the community as we help to make a brighter and healthier New York.
As the sun crests on the horizon, a new day dawns in our state. A new hope for tomorrow is rising, a clean future we create. Tomorrow we breathe easier, tomorrow the skies are clear. Today we are plugging in, the future of New York is here.
On this episode of the podcast, we have Maehlisen. He's the Vice President of Generation Americas Offshore at Orsted. Orsted is a global company with experience in a variety of technologies and, as of 2021, has developed roughly 30% of all offshore wind worldwide, excluding mainland China. So, Mikkel, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Thank you for the invite.
So give me a little bit of your personal or your professional history of how you kind of came to be in this space.
I will try to boil down 3 decades of renewables down to a few minutes. But I'm originally born and raised in Denmark and have an engineering degree behind me before I got into the renewables. Actually, just after my degree, I got into renewables. That has meant that I've traveled the world, lived in Africa, in Spain, in Portugal, spent 8 years in Houston, Texas, returned back to Europe from Texas when offshore was really picking up large scale, spent some years in the offshore industry in Europe. And then when US was at market, we very, very quickly as a family decided that we want to get back home where our kids are born. So we moved back to Boston now almost 8 years ago to be part of this boom of offshore renewables in the Northeast.
Yeah, and one of the things we've talked about many times on this podcast is that offshore wind, while new in America, is not new around the world. So let's go back in time a little bit to the beginning of South Fork Wind. This was the first utility scale project in the United States. How did this come about?
Yeah, it's more than 10 years ago, right, when we started acquiring the lease area outside of Long Island. So the first thing is that you get access to a lease area where you can actually install turbines. And then you need to get your permits and you need to get a power purchase agreement. You need to be able to sell the power that you're producing from a large-scale utility. When those were obtained, all the permits, all the PPA agreements, and then you really start building. And then you can start investing in your project, and which we have done over the last couple of years now, and has been an operational for more than a year on South Fork. And 30 megawatt large-scale utility, the first of its kind in America, is pretty exciting.
Yes, and you sell that power to the Long Island Power Authority. We actually had their CEO on just a couple episodes ago and talked about how it's been really an asset to their generation fleet. So it's exciting to see it now, not just on paper, but in use. I'm sure it's exciting for you too.
Yeah, and LIPA is a great partner. We have really partnered with them over the last 16 months. We have a power purchase agreement, a PPA. So we know for the next 20 years what the price is of the power. And LIPA also know what the price is of power. So we lock ourselves in with the risk that contains with us, and they are also having, of course, a risk that they are buying the power from us for 20 years. But that is how it's done to make sure that we can partner collectively. We have those written agreements, of course.
And we have to be careful when we name the project because it was the first utility scale project, but we don't want to take away credit from the first pilot project that happened in the United States. So there was 5 turbines, I believe it was, at Block Island. And that was really the proof of concept that this could be done in America. So what was that evolution like going from the 5 turbines up to a larger project in South Fork?
Yeah, and I want to make sure I also spend a few minutes on the first 5 or the starting 5.
Please.
which has been a great success as well. And we have to remember, before that project actually got installed, Block Island was running on diesel generator. They were burning millions of gallons of fuel every year from diesel generation. And when the project got decided to be built with the state of Rhode Island, it was decided that they were going to pull a cable from Rhode Island to Block Island and then from Block Island to the turbines. So that is how we are producing power. We are sending the power to Block Island, and then the excess of power is being sent back to the state of Rhode Island. So they have a good steady grid now on the island. They have also received a fiber optic, so they have Wi-Fi. I don't know if that have made their life better on Block Island, but at least the power has. It has been a pilot project in the US on shallow water, so that means that there's not the same complexity when it comes to installation of foundation. It was a very long process. The installation was 2 campaigns over 2 summers. The logistics they were using with jack-up vessels and so on was not built for the offshore industry. So going from a pilot project like that to kind of prove the concept, to then pivot and say, okay, now we're going to make this large scale. We're going to do it on time. We're going to do it on budget. It has to be safe. It's a totally different ball games, but it meant also that people were ready to invest in the US. So boats were being built, support on key sites was being established. The starting 5 have definitely created the foundation for this larger industry to blossom.
Yes. And so South Fork now, as you mentioned, has been online for a little over a year. What was that first year like in terms of the numbers, and did it live up to the hopes and dreams?
Yeah, hopes and dreams is always a good theme. It is producing power now, right, to approximate 70,000 households in New York. So that is the scale of the project. It has been operational, as you said, for more than a year. And the capacity factor, just to get some data out of the way in the beginning, the capacity factor has been previously for the last half a year over 50%. So that is equivalent to a natural gas fired power plant. So that is very, very good numbers. And then if I'm satisfied as a generator, I must say I am maybe more than satisfied. When we started the project to be ready to go into operation or into generation, we decided very quickly that this is going to be based on US employees. So we have to hire US employees, but none of them are scaled up to do offshore work. So we hired them more than 4 years ago. We sent them to Europe for a substantial amount of time, got them upscaled and trained to do service and maintenance on these offshore assets, and we brought them back to the Americas, and now they're training their new colleagues as well. So with all this training and upscaling and so on of offshore workers, I didn't expect them to be as technical advanced as they are right now. So I'm very, very pleased with the team. On safety and on performance, retention is high, which is also a proof that we are a good employer and we are in an industry that people really find exciting.
And you talked about capacity factor, and that's one of the biggest arguments people throw out against renewable energy in general, is that, and it's an intermittent source. The wind isn't always blowing, the sun isn't always shining. But you mentioned that South Fork Wind has proven to be almost as effective, or as effective rather, as a gas system. Why does offshore wind make sense to incorporate into New York's power grid?
And like you used the word incorporate, because that is exactly what we do, right? We're not getting rid of everything we know and now only focusing on renewables. We are part of the mix. And I think with the demand of power right now, all different sources need to coexist for the next foreseeable future. So it's not an either on or. So we have shown over the last more than a year of operation that the wind is not always blowing at the highest level, but it's rarely blowing at the lowest level. So there's always slightly some wind offshore. And you had LIPA on a couple of weeks ago, and we had some outages planned, and they called it up and said, "Oh, can you move it because we really need the power," and so on. So we also have a reliable source that's being used both during the peak period in the summer where ACs and everything is cranking, but also in the winter when heating and so on is needed. There we have shown, at least over the last 12 months, to be a very reliable source of power to the grid.
Yeah, it's excellent. So how long is this project going to be online for?
Yeah, so where we started in regards to the power purchase agreement, that is an agreement you make with with the state for 20 years, and they can then be extended. There's a mechanism to extend it. So, but there's a fixed price on power that we have locked ourselves into for the next 20 years. That is where we are kind of generating the revenue that we have used up front to develop and build and construct and so on. At that time, it's just cost for utility, and then you are kind of gaining your money back when you're selling your power afterwards. So that is a 20-year period. Then the lease areas that you're kind of leasing the seabed, that is a 35-year lease agreement. So after 35 years, we should kind of have cleaned up and had left the site. But that gives us an opportunity to operate into the 30-year lifetime of the turbines. And a turbine is lasting 30 years. We can see it from our first offshore wind park that's called Vindeby that was installed in 91 in Denmark. I was actually part of decommission that some years ago. And these turbines, yes, they were out of their lifetime, but they're also more than 30 years old. So they were supposed to be. But blades are designed to last for 20 years. The towers, the foundations, the cable, the transformer stations, and so on has a lifetime that we can operate them up till 30 years or longer.
And when you're done, let's say in 30 years, do you leave them out there? Or do you have to go clean them up?
We will go and clean them up. There is a clear agreement about that we leave the seabed as we received it. So that is what we are gonna do. And cleaning up, it's not a mess, right? What you're doing is you're putting a metal pile into the seabed. So that's like if you're on the beach, you take a straw and you put that into the sand. That is a foundation. And then of course you dig a dredge on the seabed where you put in a cable to transport power between the turbines and the transformer station. It's a very structured setup. It is 1 nautical mile by 1 nautical mile between each turbine. They're standing north, south, east, west. There's open for fishery. You can fish. You can use the seabed as it was before the turbines got installed. Also during the generation of power, there's also access to the site for fisheries. So you can use it. And Block Island has shown and studies has proven also that is increasing the biodiversity because you create these artificial reefs, and you won't believe the amount of time you're going to a Block Island turbine and people are out there around the foundation with fishing rods and so on. It has become a very popular point of fishing.
Yes, we actually did another episode with a fisherman who just does charters to these wind farms because the fishing is so good because, like you said, the biodiversity has increased and it's prime fishing out there, which is another very cool thing. You know, offshore wind wasn't new to you when you came to America. It was new to us. What were some of the surprises or takeaways that you had when you started educating the local electeds or local community leaders on this technology?
I think the first takeaway is it's not really that different from onshore wind. And there is a lot of onshore wind in the US. I previously worked in Texas, as I said, and I was part of installing more than 1,000 turbines in the 6-7 years I was in Texas. So there is a lot of wind. So the technology is the same. It just becomes so much more complicated when you take it offshore. But of course, it also means that it is close to major cities in the Northeast, that you have it out on the continental shelf. It is far out enough that you almost can't see it, and people don't want it in my backyard, but it's still close to, so you can transport the power into the city of New York and the state of Connecticut. But what has been most powerful and what we all need to take away, that is the whole community around. It is local fisheries. It is communities in the areas where you will have to get the support and get the buy-in and explain it to people's heart more than to people's heads. This is not a business where it's black and white and numbers and so on. It is also then in the alternative, then also to get the buy-in locally. And I must say that the community in East Hampton is one of the communities that we have spent most time with and where we get most support. And they have, at the same time also, we have this agreement that we are supporting over the lifetime $29 million East Hampton, and they can use that for goods in their local community. So everybody kind of get a piece of the pie.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the education we do with the onshore project is the same type of thing, talking about those benefits. So it's nice to hear that it's not just, you know, the host community like a solar or wind project, but it's the host community where the offshore power is delivered as well. So you had mentioned the construction jobs. Now that the project is operating, what do those people do?
Yeah, now they're operating. There's still service, there's still maintenance, there's still things that needs to be fixed on a daily basis. So not a lot of people know it, but our O&M hub for the whole Northeast program, as we are calling it, is out of East Setauket. So we have a facility in East Setauket where we are monitoring the turbines from. We have all our wear parts, all our spare parts is sent out from East Setauket. We have our planning and scheduling, and we are running a utility, right? It's more than servicing a main or a wind turbine. It is a utility that we are operating. We have transformer stations on Long Island as well, and we have more than 50 people hired now in East Setauket in our O&M facility. When we started in East Setauket and we opened these positions up, we didn't get a lot of applicants. It was difficult to find the talent. Not that the talent wasn't there, but the talent was not looking for us. And now when we established ourselves, we have started to hire local people, and the rumor is spread. We get applications right now in for people. We're not even looking for people, but they're sending in applications. So we started to create a name in the area, and people are searching for a position in this new industry, which is also exciting because we are bridging between a lot of industries where we are both onshore, we are offshore, we are a little bit maritime, we are also planning, we are also warehousing. So we have this very unique opportunity for young talent.
And so what comes next for Orsted?
What comes next? We are still planning to build Revolution and Sunrise that we have in the hopper right now to really build out to almost 2 gigawatts of utility in the Northeast. So that is definitely next. And then I really hope that this industry will take off. To my team, I'm always using this Pippi Longstocking effect that I find everywhere in the US, that we've never done it before. We're most likely going to be good at it. But we're not only good at it, we're excellent at it. This is the best performing 1-year site in the history of Orsted. We have never done it before, having such a high availability with such good winds in the area, with such a good safety record. If we are so good at it, let's continue. I can't wait.
Agreed. Awesome. Yes. And best of luck to you. And Mikkel, thank you so much for your time and joining us.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Plugging In. I hope you learned something, and I hope you share this knowledge with someone else. It would be incredibly helpful if you leave us a 5-star review wherever you found this podcast. If there's a topic you would like us to cover in the future, or have a question about clean energy, send us an email at podcast@aceny.org. You can follow us on social media using the links in the show notes, or consider joining our Clean Energy Supporters mailing list at aceny.org/support. Your support is crucial to creating a brighter and healthier New York. I'll see you next time.
Tomorrow we breathe easier. Tomorrow the skies are clear. Today we